welcome. They've been geared up and ready for the last 10 minutes or so. To the stage, Sundeep, Khanna, the partner in consumer and retail, and of course, Joerg, Meiser, the partner, ME, consumer and retail, and strategy lead. Please join and welcome them to the stage.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to your introduction, we thought we'd make it a bit more innovative and come the both of us here for the keynote. It is a real pleasure being here today and having the honor of opening the Middle East Retail Forum 2024. And you said it was very dramatic, the opening, so we want to wake you up more and make it very dramatic but fact-based. So, and what better way is there than starting with what we are all here for? We are here for the consumer. And I actually need to click somewhere. Okay. I was very late here, so I had not the introduction, how the technique works. To talk about especially the consumer. Last year, same time, we were here and introducing to you the consumer trends or the consumer sentiment in the Middle East of consumers in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, and in general about the Middle East. And we thought this is the perfect starting point for this session because this is why we are all here, for the consumer. And therefore, we want to go with you through 6 key forces which are impacting the consumer industry. For this, we as Deloitte did a study across 20 countries across the consumer industry to identify these sources and dive in a bit more and understand what is moving the consumer and what are the impacts for the businesses. So what do we need to consider as a business? And the 6 forces you can see here. The heart of it is the consumer. It's all around him. The consumer is ever evolving, ever changing. He's more informed. He has more demands, what we also heard before. He has more information. And plus, there's always more technology. We heard about one of the sponsors here about Retail GPT. Absolutely personification. So he knows exactly what he wants tailored for him. And besides the technique, you have, it was also mentioned in the introduction, more external factors. It's the ongoing economic developments, the geopolitical developments, which are all impacting the consumer and how he thinks. And accordingly, we want to focus today on on 2 internal aspects and also how the externals are touching them. Now, mainly, what are internal ones, what the businesses can actually impact, where they can make a difference when they take the consumer understanding at the heart. And I want to delve into the changing consumer itself, while my colleague Sunny later will go more in the other topics. And last year, I mentioned it, we did a study, we showed you some facts about consumer, about different categories. And that is exactly what I want to talk about. You see this head, you might recognize it from last year, whoever was here last year, to show what's the sentiment. For this, we did a specific survey with the consumer to understand across different categories, for example, inflation, their financial appetite, their purchase behavior, and other categories. How do they feel about it? To just ask them, how do you feel about certain things? And let us get into these numbers. We have 4 categories. 1, economic inflation. And at that example, what do you see here? You see the categories on the left, and then you see the developments about in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, and the global comparison on the right. And what else do you see here? Because I know it's many numbers. You see the numbers we showed you last year, 2023, and the numbers 2024, and the development in percentage points from the last year. And when we read this slide, these facts, then we can see that there isn't the feeling about economic inflation is very high. It is an increase of 16 or 18 percentage points, which shows that the consumers they know that there's something happening and they're cautious. But when you look on the right side, the global comparison with 73%, the Middle East consumer is really strong. And I think that's one of the key messages. The Middle East consumer is really confident, but he's cautious. What you can also see in the personal, or what is supported and what you can see in the personal finance. You see, it's especially in global average, the personal financial situation, how consumers feel about their personal financials, is very high. It didn't develop much, but it's very high compared to the global average. And this leads to this confident situation, feeling of the consumers. And this is directly translated into the retail purchases. You see here year-to-year growth of 10%, 10 percentage points. And again, look at the global average. That shows the strength of the region, of the consumer, besides the concerns about inflation and what is going on from external factors. He's very confident in what he's doing. But he's cautious, and this is what we need to consider as businesses. There are certain categories, they spend more, which are also due to inflation, inflated prices, but they are spending in the Middle East on fashion, on personal care, on obviously groceries, but also an increased spending on hospitality and travel. And important for consumers is here, and I come to that in a second, is what we as businesses need to offer them. It is a brand, it is quality, and it is an experience. And that across borders. You see here the last point, it's not the biggest development, but it is important for the region, the cross-border shopping. We have all our mobile devices. With one click, we can order everything. And even more in the UAE, it's bigger than in KSA. This has also, it was mentioned before, supply chain reasons. But if we break them, then this becomes even more challenging, and for the consumer, even more choice, and for us businesses, we need to focus more. Having said all this, what are the 3 key trends coming out of this data we as businesses need to consider? One is the personalizing our products. We saw it before, consumer is informed, so it needs to be personalized. The consumer today expects, I don't know how you are, but when you go somewhere, a very shop couple of times, you expect they know about you. And I know we talk about this since years, but this keeps on staying one of the key topics to win the consumer, to know about him, to offer him exactly what he's looking for, or maybe what he's not looking for, but then he wants it. Premium offerings, and premium doesn't mean price necessarily. Premium means to offer quality. Premium means to offer an experience. Premium means for the consumer to offer a value, and that across categories, across price levels, to bring him something with value. And last but not least, cross-border commerce, I mentioned it, many brands, international brands trying to enter the market, but also many local brands, which grew really big, are now on the search of internationalization. So these 3 trends are key out of the facts you saw before, and going forward, I think during the discussions today, we're going to see them popping up throughout, and to focus on these shows us how we in the Middle East, as a really strong market with a very confident consumer, can win the business. And how that looks from business side, I give over to Sundeep.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Retail Images ME. Thank you, Joerg. So I'm going to cover a couple of trends that we talked about, industry upheaval and technology. Let me start with industry upheaval. I think in my 20-plus years of retail, I haven't seen so much change in such a short space of time. And we've really identified 4 key trends around that we're seeing, and I'm sure will be familiar to you as well. So experience-led commerce, and Joerg talked about some of this, really moving from being transactional and being more experiential, being able to personalize, and leveraging new capabilities like AI, the Metaverse, AR, and VR. And we'll talk about artificial intelligence in a short while. But what I would say on this, and talking to many of our retail clients, the fundamentals are still really important. So having availability, having the right assortment, and ease of payment are all really important things to enable this. And I would say, have we got that all right? We've talked for a long time about seamless omnichannel, but never before has it become so important. Consumers are really not thinking in channels anymore. This is becoming a hygiene factor for our consumers. And this is not about e-commerce or physical retail and one at the expense of the other. It's how you bring it all together for that customer that actually, like I said, is not thinking in channels anymore. So we've seen a lot of retailers being able to do click and collect and enable a lot of these journeys, but we've also seen a number of challenges. And again, talking to our clients and industry partners, being able to enable journeys like buy online, pick up in store, using stores as picking points, there are still challenges with things like inventory management and having some of those fundamental processes in place. So a real opportunity there for enhancing that capability. The third one is social commerce, and I'm sure you have all either seen it or actually engaged with it. So TikTok, Instagram, you're seeing live streaming coming much more popular. And actually, the global marketplace has never been so small. The platform for brands to come and sell on all these channels is actually amazing. And Forbes estimates that this market is now worth $1.7 trillion, growing at 30% globally. And the question is for retailers, how do you actually market in a new way? This is talking directly to consumers about your products. Do the marketing strategies we have today, are they fit for this type of commerce? And Joerg talked about cross-border, so I won't labor the point, but actually it's really important. Again, as I said, the global marketplace has never been so small and easy to access. Brands are coming on global marketplaces day in, day out. And a great example is someone like Shein, who has made great inroads into many different countries around the world, despite not selling in their home market. And I think we'll also see brands in the Middle East actually become exporters. And everybody I know abroad keeps asking me for this fixed chocolate. I'm sure you've experienced that as well, but I'm sure there'll be many more brands that will actually start exporting from the Middle East, and great opportunities there. If we go on to technology, we are in an age where technological advancements are exponentially advancing. And in our global report for Future of Consumer, we identified many of these trends. And we can really dip down into one today, and the one that everybody is really talking about, which is artificial intelligence. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about it later on in the day as well. But I really want to take a different angle on this and look at what are the opportunities for retailers. We've talked a lot about the capabilities of AI, people experimenting with AI, but actually, what can it do for your business? And I'm sure many of you in the room are familiar with what's on the screen now. Pressure to grow, pressure to increase margins, absorb cost increases. But what this does mean is there needs to be new ways of working. And thinking about AI, we looked at a number of research papers, including our own research, external bodies, and we looked across the value chain of retail to see where do we see that there's actually opportunities for reducing costs, and where are there opportunities with AI for increasing revenue. Now, let me take 2 or 3 examples today. So if we think about supply chain, where we say cost-saving initiatives could be around improving demand planning, right stock, right place, right time, optimizing logistics and distribution, so the way you deliver stock to your stores. And we're seeing reports that retailers can experience cost savings of up to 40% by leveraging AI to optimize inventory control and reduce the logistics cost by 15%. And if you think about revenue generating here, improving customer satisfaction through improved delivery and availability, reducing lead times, and having the right product in the right place at the right time, so you're available to promise metrics go up. And we're seeing that actually there could be up to 10% increase in revenue through inventory management and logistics. And our own Deloitte research says actually AI-driven risk mitigation, looking at supply chain disruptions, which are happening more and more frequently, there's potentially 5 to 10% of annual revenue which would otherwise be lost. If you look at another area like customer support, so we all have contact centers and email, etc., and ways of customers to contact retailers, automating that and external communications, personalizing customer support and having it 24/7, and reducing labor cost are all areas where there could be cost savings. And this is where chatbots come in, potential savings of 30% from chatbots. And another study said that actually the customer experience through AI can see a 10 to 15% reduction in costs. But it's not just about cost saving. You can actually increase revenue through your customer support and leveraging AI. So increasing conversions, using the opportunity to upsell up to 20%. Many companies have even higher than 10% sales increase with chatbots in retail. And the last one is marketing, an area where actually there are lots of use cases for AI around automated content creation, social media management, email marketing to customers. Yes, there are opportunities for operational labor cost savings, and up to 10 to 15% of EBIT value from implementing analytics and Gen AI to produce your marketing materials. So where we're seeing revenue-generating opportunities is personalizing sales, which we talked about, predicting the customer behavior and personalizing the journey, and targeting to a really micro level. We talk about segment of one in marketing, and you can use AI to help you do that. And research is saying there's 10 to 15% revenue uplift possible. This is research from different sources. I think the real key is how you're going to leverage AI in your organizations. And this is through developing your own strategy, roadmap, working out the benefits, and where the potential business opportunities are for you. Today, we've been through 3 of our key forces in our Middle East consumer report. The full report is available for you to download through this QR code, and we're happy to speak to you at our stand. I hope you really enjoy the rest of the day, and have a great day. Thank you.